We're back, and now we have a real treat for you. We're going to go into the world of song and music now. We actually have a musician/professor who's come down all the way from New York, Will Soliman, who's also half Egyptian, half Jordanian. Right. Now, if you could entertain us with some of your music, if you'd like.
Thank you very much. So I play three percussive instruments. The tabla, which is sort of the mainframe instrument in the Middle East, right? They use in percussion. So I'll demonstrate by playing a couple of beats for you guys. That's a Ma'soom beat. But there's other kinds of beat, like for example, Saidi beat.
Saidi, like Said, Egypt?
Saidi, well, actually comes from the upper part of Egypt, yeah, where the beat originated, yeah. There's also Fallahi beat, which is sort of...
I'll play that.
Yeah, yeah, Fallahi beat.
Wow.
And then there's other kinds of beat. For example, when you look at the comparison between like the Arabic rhythm versus like a Turkish rhythm. So like a Turkish rhythm would be...
I had no idea that there were, you know, I guess you could just hear them and tell that know whether this is a Turkish rhythm or where it originated or what the music. I had no idea.
Yeah, and the Turkish rhythms typically are a little bit more complex than the Arabic rhythms.
Yeah, they sound like it.
And a lot of our rhythms here today in the U.S. are actually based on the Middle Eastern rhythms.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of the 4/4 rhythms are based on Middle Eastern percussion.
We started it all there.
Cradle of civilization and music.
Yeah, and then here I have with me the something called the doof, which is utilized a lot now in music, especially a lot in the new kinds of music, the depth music. So I'll demonstrate that a little bit. So this you'll find more in a lot of the Arabic songs that are coming out now. This is having like a more prominent place in the music.
Originally, show us doombek today, are you?
I can do that before you, yeah. I told you only if you dance.
So then you're going to dance, right?
So, and this is it. And this actually used to be the main percussive instrument in a lot of the music, especially back in the 60s and 70s. So if you listen to Abdul Halim, or Kulthum, Farid al-Atrash, their main rhythm was actually by the re.
Wow.
So, and I'll play sort of similar beats from the re.
Is that like a typical American tambourine, or is it?
No, not at all. And so this is actually a lot more difficult to play. Even a lot of people will say more than the tabla.
Wow.
So
You've actually done a CD for Abdul Halim Hafiz, haven't you?
Yeah, my first album that I did, which was actually aired here in the U.S., Rekatek, was a single album, single CD that had Zayed Hawa, Abdul Halim Hafiz's song remixed. And what I did was, that was back in '99, that was actually one of the first CDs to incorporate Western style music into, you know, the older songs and try to like redo them in a more Americanized way. And that was aired actually in the radios here in the U.S. So,
So Suzanne mentioned that you also are a professor at New Jersey City University and King University in something a little far off from music, biochemistry and organic chemistry. So how did you fall into music? I mean, has it always been a mainstay and you've just continued it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, growing up, you know, the culture, the Arabic culture was really very prominent in the house. So I was exposed to a lot of Arabic music. And actually, the songs that got me very interested in Arabic music were Aghani Wataniya. So the songs for Abdul Halim Hafiz that talked about the revolution. Right. And if you listen to those songs, a lot of the beats are very tribal. And that's what got me interested in listening to Arabic music and listening to the percussion. And I actually began playing on like pots and pans because I didn't know where to purchase Arabic drums at that time.
When was the first time you purchased Arabic?
I was about 15. Yeah. About
Did you need permission from anyone?
Well, my parents were not that happy about it because they wanted to see the scientific route. Yeah, because I was practicing and putting a lot of time into that.
Did you have to reassure them that don't worry, I'm going to be a professor and a gymnast?
You're very talented.
Well, you know, they thought it was kind of strange. I was spending, like, I mean, some days, literally, on the weekends, I spent 8 to 10 hours a day practicing.
Wow.
So,
Did you actually take lessons, or was this just a natural talent for you?
I taught myself, yeah, natural talent. I listen to a lot of people, you know, listen to a lot of singers, a lot of rhythms, especially all the older songs, like, again, the songs from Soliman and Abdul Halim, because the rhythms there are very prominent, and, you know, what the percussion is doing is very clear. Versus nowadays, you know, things are so Americanized that it's hard to hear what the actual percussion is doing.
Sure.
There's all
Like
machines.
now, in a lot of the songs, I just press a button and it's a drum.
And that's exactly
Right,
what
Pro
So you can definitely
Right.
tell the difference. I mean, it's great. It has rich levels to it.
Absolutely,
I wanted to ask you, so do you do any live performances, or is it just you do, you know, CD releases? How do you work?
Sure,
It's
that's
been
a
like
question.
4 albums, right?
Yeah, I have my own albums, and the last album actually was for Kulthum, which her song Eflele Leila was again remixed, sort of like it was done with Intihamni, and how that was redone, same idea. But yeah, I have my own albums. I record for other artists. One recent collaboration that I had was with Natalia Handel, who is a pretty well-known poet and playwright. And that was the first time where we combined Arabic percussion and Arabic music with poetry, which was done in English, her poetry.
You also performed at One World, One Voice.
Yeah, One World, One
for the
Voice.
9/11 victims.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
For the 9/11 victims, which is a great experience because you got a chance to work with people from all over the world, actually, musicians. So it was really interesting.
Who was performing there? Some of the other ones?
I mean, there was people from China, from South Africa, from Japan, you know, from all over. We had other musicians from the Middle East as well. We had people, you know, who did like hold down Western music.
Wow.
So it was interesting to combine all these kinds of musicians in one place.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of distribution? You are obviously sold here in the United States and the rest of the world, right?
Yeah, the CDs are sold pretty much all around the world. It's been accepted mostly in the Middle East, especially because a lot of the CDs are instrumental. So it's done fairly well. And you know, in the end of the day, my goal really was to, especially for places in Europe and America, was to expose people to our music and our culture. Because I think especially like, you know, post 9/11, the Arabic culture doesn't have the most positive...
No, it's a different way to reach people. It's a non-threatening
Exactly.
form of expression.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of responses do you get from people who've probably never heard the music or the style before?
From, you know, a non-Arab?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very positive. They're very interested. And actually, a lot of the places where I go perform in clubs in Chicago, New York, and LA, they're very, very interested at the technique that's involved. You know, a lot of them think, for example, this is a basic tambourine, but when they see, you know, the complexity that's involved in it.
Could you show us?
I know, I want to hear some music.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Wow. So every time I pick up such an instrument, I can't seem to get my fingers to move that fast. Do you inject something into it, or is it just like years of practice?
Well, actually, you know, the key to playing percussion really well is that you have to be extremely relaxed. Yeah, you have to be very, very relaxed. If your muscles tense up, that's when you have a hard time playing. I think in general for instruments, but yeah, to play the percussion really well, you have to be very relaxed.
So I'm probably just too nervous.
You might be.
In general, for anything creative, also, right?
I'm sorry?
For anything creative, because you're really creating something, and then you're just going with the rhythms.
Yeah, you have to be very, very relaxed. That's very, very true.
Well, hopefully you're relaxed right now because I want to hear some more.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
I just want to do a solo for you. Sure.
Ooh, yes. focus to stay in and just continue.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of practice and you have to build up to it, yeah. Sure.
Do your fingers hurt, by the way?
Not if you play right, yeah, your fingers won't hurt if you play right. But when I first started, I had a lot of calluses on my fingers and stuff like that when I first started. But if you play correctly, your fingers won't hurt.
Yeah, was that just kind of you improvising?
That was kind of me improvising, yeah.
So you just kind of made that up on the spot?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, even though you have things set in your head, no matter what, when you perform, there's always going to be changes.
Of course, we inspired you, right?
Yeah.
Or like the backup.
Absolutely, yeah.
Our coffee was okay.
It was very good, yeah. Again, it was helpful and encouraging.
Do you mix rhythms when you were showing us the different ones in the beginning? Do you do Saidi with the Turkish, or do you kind of stay with one?
Yeah, what I did here was I mixed rhythms and I changed speeds. So absolutely, yeah. I mean, a lot of this I would do, for example, for a dancer, or if I was doing a drum show, for example. One of the things that we've done actually here in the States that no one does in the States is we do drum shows. We perform either sometimes private weddings or parties, and also in public places like clubs, where I'm playing a certain improvisation and I have drummers behind me, and that's a show by itself. And so that's something that's different that hasn't been done here. In Egypt, it's pretty, it's done widely. Like Said Artis does a lot of that kinds of shows. So
I know that Arabic music with other genres of music, fusion, is very popular. Like I hear a lot of Latin singers and songs together with Arabic. Are there any other forms of Arabic fusion that are really popular right now?
Actually, you know what I did in terms of fusion?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, I performed at the Apollo Theater in Harlem.
Oh, my hood.
Right, in New York. And that was very interesting. First of all, I was the only white person there. That was the first thing. And what we did was we had a backbeat of hip-hop music.
Wow.
And I actually played percussion on top of that, and I won at the Apollo, which I was shocked that I won at the Apollo.
So you did the night at the Apollo?
I did the night at the Apollo, yeah.
Oh yeah. If you guys haven't seen it, the audience votes, and by clapping, by cheers, it's determined whom gets to move on. And it's obviously a predominantly black crowd, and it's great. And it's probably a lot of familiarity with them and hip hop too.
Oh, they loved it, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of hip-hop music, they use Abdul Halim Hafiz and Jay-Z's Big Pimpin'. They have that beat. I played it, actually had students, I played Abdul Halim Hafiz for them and had them identify, and they're like, what? Because they heard the rest of the song.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, it was funny talking about the Apollo. When I was waiting back in the green room, I heard some people being booed off the show.
Yes,
and I didn't realize that was the format. Oh, they're very brutal.
Oh yeah, they will boo you out. But I'm sure they didn't boo you because
they didn't. But I was scared going up because I was like, there's no way they're gonna like. I mean, there's people doing hip hop and stuff. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna like Arabic percussion. But they loved it.